Everyone. Okay, we'll look to start the meeting now.
Joe.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's quite a long meeting today, so we will put in a comfort break at some point, which I will reveal when that will be. So just to welcome everyone to our committee meeting, please can I remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded and live streamed. And in the event of a fire alarm, please do await direction from staff who will be able to assist with any evacuation. And please do not return to the building until instructed to do so by our fire wardens. We've got some apologies for today's meeting from Councillor Mike Bell, who is the leader of North Somerset. Councillor Catherine Gibbons is en route, but unfortunately there are challenges on the M5, so she will join us when she can, but she will be here, we think, for the joint committee items at the end of the meeting. But I'm also joined today by Councillor Kevin Guy, leader of Bath and North East Somerset Council, and of course Deputy Mayor of the West of England, Councillor Tony Dyer, leader of Bristol City Council, and Councillor Maggie Tyrrell, leader of South Gloucestershire Council. I also want to welcome Toby Wells, who is here on behalf of the Authorities Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Welcome, Toby. And Councillor David Wilcox, who is chair of our Audit Committee. Do members have any declarations of interest to declare for item 2? No, okay. And item 3 is the minutes of our previous meeting. The minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of October are in the agenda pack. Are members content to agree these minutes as a correct record?
Happy to move, yeah. Happy to second.
Excellent. Yep, good. Thank you. That's confirmed. So item 4 is Mayor's announcements. So I'll just give a bit of an update of what we've been up to since the previous committee meeting. So we're at the start of a new year, although if you're anything like me, it doesn't really feel very new anymore, almost at the end of January, but it does give us a chance to not just look towards our future, but also to reflect on what we've already achieved by working together. We brought so many exciting things forward for our region, including in these last few months since our last meeting. So I think of particular importance to us, the Chancellor has confirmed plans to give us the ability to decide on an overnight visitor levy, which is a landmark, I know Kevin's smiling at this one, a landmark devolved power for our region with record international visitor numbers in recent years. This is something that genuinely could be hugely significant for us. Nothing on that is happening overnight. We can all back the prospect of decisions like this being moved out of Westminster so that they can be taken right here, but we will do the work in terms of consulting with relevant parties here before anything happens. Our reputation is continuing to grow across government. Earlier this month with Bristol City Leap, I joined the Minister in Bishopsworth to launch the government's Warm Homes Plan, which is a record 15 billion for people to improve energy efficiency and cut their bills. We also welcomed our Investment Minister, Lord Stockwood, who visited Brabazon and Bristol Temple Quarter in December, and I know he was really impressed with what the region has to offer. And talking of Brabazon, contractors worked non-stop over the Christmas break at North Filton Station to unlock the fast and sustainable travel that we so desperately need for our residents. And if you want to see more of that, you can see the video on our social media channels. I suspect there's a couple of people in the public audience who might have already watched that one. Active Travel England have also been back in the region this week, and they recently awarded us almost £12 million. They were keen to see more of what we're delivering together, visiting Bath and North East Somerset and South Gloucestershire. And this follows Councillor Heather Mack and I hosting Chris Boardman in Bristol last summer, where we gave Chris a tour of the city centre, and we've continued to work really constructively with Active Travel England ever since. I also share Maggie's excitement about the new trees that have been planted in Pucklechurch Wood, and that's a really important part of the story of the new Western Forest, which is starting to take root across the region. Our cultural and creative sectors are at the heart of our vision for the West. And this year will bring a much needed boost as one of just 6 regions to receive the Creative Places Growth Fund. And you'll see more of that in today's budget papers. This fund is a real vote of confidence in the sector from government. And they've also recently praised our Citizens Assembly on Culture, who published their report this month, with Lisa Nandu describing it as a shining example of how we can put communities at the heart of cultural decisions that impact them. I also want to take the time to wholeheartedly back Weston's bid. I'm going to look at Mandy because I've got no Catherine, to become the first town of culture, and really keen to help you however we can with that. And of course, I'm fully behind Bristol's bid to be the next city of culture. And I really hope, I really hope that all residents can get behind both of those bids. We've also had a royal visit earlier this year to the Bottle Yard Studios, where I was delighted to join Her Majesty the Queen touring the sets of Rivals, which is once again filming in our region to much excitement. This week I co-hosted a Mayor's Innovation Day up in Greater Manchester. Where else would we be this week? With Andy Burnham. Who else would we be with this week? That was focused on getting young people into work, supporting social impact investing, and keeping Britain healthy and in work. And after its success during the summer holidays, Kids Go Free returned over the festive period, as announced at Bath Christmas markets, with Kevin and Catherine from Visit West. And more than 182,000 free journeys were taken on our region's buses over the recent school holidays. And thanks to 9 weeks of Kids Go Free, people in our region, we believe, have saved a whopping £1.1 million. And this also, most importantly, really impacts families who can't usually afford access to the brilliant things that our region offers. And this really has been transformational for them. And at the end of 2025, we saw the launch of our Child Poverty Action Plan, which has been praised by the Early Years Minister, Olivia Bailey, as well as the former Prime Minister and anti-poverty campaigner, Gordon Brown. And it was lovely to see the kids at the Tynings Primary School in Staple Hill on the last Friday before Christmas, with Councillor Christine Townsend and Councillor Ian Bolton to launch our plan. And I know that collectively we all share the same desire to tackle this issue head on. So in terms of 26, we started as we mean to go on, visiting some of the people making a real difference, including the Bristol Women in Business Charter, VOSCA, the University of Bath, and we attended last week a drop-in session on the West Innovation Arc with Maggie and Ian. We've also seen the impact at Cabot Circus of M&S's flagship store opening, as has my credit card, sadly. Me and Tony and my mum got a sneak peek just before it opened, which was really exciting. And they're also opening a new store in Bath next week, both of which are going to be powered by a new £74 million warehouse in Severn Beach. So M&S already employ 2,000 people in our region, and these new and expanded stores will create more opportunities for local farmers and more choices for customers. And today's meeting has hundreds of millions of pounds of plans to do even more for the region. But before we move on to substantive business, I'd like to offer the floor to other leaders for their updates if they wish, starting with Kevin.
Very quickly, I'd just like to thank the Mayor. She came down with a team to the Soma Valley recently. She's been exceptionally good in leading on the regional growth strategy with us all. And we're very pleased that the Soma Valley is one of the key areas for regional growth. We had a great visit. We saw the new Bradstock Town Hall, Midsummer Norton Town Hall, and we're really keen to make that a vibrant place to live, work, and add to our amazing economy. So thank you very much for coming. There are loads of other things that I've been filling in for the Mayor. She's an exceptionally busy individual that my diary's now found out about.
Sorry about that.
No, but yes, I won't go through them all, but yeah, thank you for visiting Soma Valley. It was an excellent visit. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. We really enjoyed it. I loved it. Maggie.
Yes, I will be brief, as you've covered so much of the activity that's gone on, but I think I'd like to just mention the fact that South Gloucestershire has now deposited its local plan, and it's with the inspectors, and it's looking very much on track to achieve the timing we were hoping for, so that the examination in public will start in the spring. I think this is important in terms of our work going forward on the SDS, because there's that commitment to work with the local plans, and we're really pushing the boundaries in our new plan that go above and beyond legal minimums in terms of affordable housing, for example, and to address the delivery of age-friendly homes and so on, and it sets out ways in which we can take meaningful steps to protect and enhance the natural environment. So we hope that we can push those through and add to the SDS with those ambitions. Obviously, one of the big areas of work for us is the West Innovation Arc. And it's been mentioned several times at previous committee meetings. We see this as a once in a generation opportunity to deliver the sustainable growth that we all here want to see. So working together as we are now, we can unlock new jobs and affordable homes and that vital infrastructure that we need to really kickstart the whole process. So we want to see those benefits across South Gloss and the wider region. So we're really pleased to see so many people at the workshop that you mentioned that was held on Friday. A good range of people across all sectors were there to look at how we could engage with the whole community. And I think the people there showed a real willingness to collaborate and work with us. So I'm looking forward to taking that forward. I think one of the big things that is affecting the public at the moment are all the road works, and we've certainly seen a lot of those in South Gloucestershire. We've got the travel improvements, sustainable travel improvements along the A4174, which is substantially completed. So that marks a real major milestone, I think, in the investments that we've made from this authority, and increases the travel choices across South Gloss. So because we want to ensure people have got real choices in the way they travel across the area. But I think it's important because we recognise the frustrations that the roadworks cause for residents, that we thank them for putting up with it, but hope that they will see quite shortly now, when all the cones have disappeared, that it's worth it. We wouldn't be doing it if we didn't think it was. And you've mentioned the wood in Puckle Church. I mean, that's a real achievement for, again, a joint enterprise between a whole group of organisations with WECA funding and South Gloucestershire land being put into producing this wood. I think by the end of March, they're hoping to have planted 22,000 trees already, and they'll do the same next year. So, I mean, it is a huge enterprise, and I believe it covers an area of 42 football pitches, which gives some idea of the scale. So we're very, very glad to see that all coming together. So I think those are some of the major highlights.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Maggie. Tony.
Thank you. I think I'll go through a few things because there is a lot happening at the moment. I think one of those is the appointment of Muse as the preferred development partner for Bristol Temple Quarter. We know Muse quite well. They've worked in Bristol before. They delivered the Wapping Wharf site. So that will help kickstart that development. And I think people will start to see more activity around Temple Meads and just outside here as well as we move forward. Second is the extension of the M1 Metro bus, which is now actually going into Artcliffe and up to Imperial Park. Obviously, that's part of work which will hopefully see it go even further in the future, that we've discussed previously. City of Culture bid, you've already mentioned, and just to say, This morning I signed off the expression of interest submission, so that's winging its way to the various bodies, and it is a massive opportunity. We had the first meeting, or an informal meeting, of the business board at Engine Shed, which was very, very positive, and very much talking about how we make sure we include people, and particularly young people, in the economic growth of the region. The other thing that's been announced is that Bristol is now delivering more social rent housing than any other local authority outside of Bristol, which is key for us, because we want, we do have a housing crisis, and we need to deliver homes that people can actually afford to live in. And then finally, we have got the first instalment of funding for the Artcliffe Bride in Place. Not the big amounts of the money, it's the money for us to be able to set up the governance board, which will be largely driven, or almost exclusively driven, by local people in Artcliffe.
Thank you very much, everyone. So I hope people get a sense that there is an awful lot going on in the region at the minute, which is really positive. So the item 5, thank you. Item 5 is items from the public. So under the Constitution, we've got 30 minutes for this item. There were almost 60 questions received from members of the public ahead of this meeting. Those questions and my responses have now been published and circulated. In addition, the statements received have been published on the authority's website. So thank you, everyone. And a number of people have indicated that they wish to address the meeting on the topic of their statements. Now, we have had more requests today than we have time for, so I'm really very sorry if we don't get to your statement, but we will make sure that the statements are noted. So I do apologise in advance if we don't get there. However, what would really help is if people can ideally speak to time. So each speaker has a maximum of 3 minutes, but the clerk will warn each speaker after 2.5 minutes. So if you can start to wrap up there, that will really help everybody get the opportunity to speak. Okay, so we'll start with the first statement, which is from Sophie Gerald on behalf of Julian Milnes.
Thank you very much. I'm speaking today on behalf of local organisation Bristol Charities. Thank you for having us today. We're delighted to be here. Bristol Charities strongly endorses the proposal to partner with the West of England Combined Authority to create a regional multifaceted logistics hub. The proposed hub will strengthen the infrastructure needed to address deep-rooted inequality across the West of England. Poverty continues to affect too many families in the region, with an estimated 67,000 children growing up in poverty. In Bristol alone, more than 30,000 people experience food insecurity, including families, individuals, and older people who cannot consistently access the food they need. This has, of course, far-reaching consequences impacting physical, mental health, educational attainment, and long-term life chances. Addressing these challenges requires not only frontline support, but sustained investment in the systems and infrastructure that enable support to reach people reliably, at scale, and with dignity. The VCSE sector plays a vital role in responding to these pressures. Charities, food projects, and grassroots organisations provide essential services, access to advice, and pathways into training and employment for people facing hardship. However, the sector is operating under increasing strain. Demand for services continues to rise while funding is reduced, staff are stretched, and access to affordable premises is increasingly limited. The commercial market for warehouse and distribution space in the West of England is highly competitive and largely unaffordable for charities. For organisations whose operating models depend on logistics, storage and distribution, the lack of premises presents a significant barrier. Without intervention, this could affect the ability of the VCSE sector to meet the growing levels of need. By bringing a leading charity, Bristol Charities, and the public sector together to finance a shared warehouse, we can deliver a step change for the sector, combining affordable space with access to markets and creating the conditions for organisations to thrive, not just survive. Bristol Charities has a long history of working across the region through almshouse provision, grant making and community development. It has extensive experience in investing in and managing commercial property to provide affordable and accessible workspaces for the charity sector.
30 seconds left.
Bristol Charities has been working to identify a long-term solution to the need for high-quality distribution space, supporting both the growth of FareShare Southwest and the development of a multi-bank style offer. A multi-bank style brings together surplus goods from major companies and local charities, providing food and essential items such as clothing, bedding, baby products, hygiene products and furniture. Evidence from other parts of the UK demonstrates the significant social value this model can deliver. 30 seconds.
Thank you, Sophie. Thank you so much. Second statement is from Lucy Byrne. Sorry if I've said that wrong.
Thank you very much for having me here today. I started working at the charity FareShare Southwest 8 years ago, and I've been the chief exec for the last 2, and I also strongly endorse the proposed regional logistics hub. During the pandemic, FareShare Southwest scaled up to deliver 6 times as much food for people in need, and we've kept growing because that need hasn't gone away and it's got deeper. This is what people working in frontline charities tell us. From a school-based VegBox project, we've had children from our other primary school come to our school fainting with hunger. From a charity run from a church, Saturday mornings, we serve mums and young families, some recovering from domestic abuse and marriage breakup. For some, it is the only early support they get. At FareShare Southwest, we rescue good-to-eat food directly from the food industry, the majority of which is fresh veg, fruit and dairy. Last year, in Bristol, Bath, North East Somerset and South Gloucestershire alone, we rescued and shared 664 tonnes of surplus food, supporting more than 150 charities in the region and providing 1.6 million meals to around 18,000 people. It's a proven solution to an environmental problem, and it creates lasting social impact. Impact like this, from a project supporting young parents. Being a single mum can be very lonely. Cooking and sharing a meal together involves lots of social experiences for every one of us, including the babies in their high chairs. The food acts like a glue, bringing us all together. Now, these frontline charities exist to support profound community need, and they can only do that with an infrastructure that keeps their doors open. FareShare Southwest is a fundamental part of that infrastructure right now, but we outgrew our 2 Bristol hubs in 2022. Taking on a space large enough to bring in more food simply isn't possible for us at market rates. But we and the network of organisations that we work with are not sustainable unless we can expand to bring in more food. Now, this unique partnership-led hub would enable FareShare Southwest to rescue and share food for an additional 3 million meals a year by 2030, to maximise the impact of our existing logistics operation and to scale up our pioneering employability programme. But more importantly, it would embed a new lever for community resilience. We work with hundreds of organisations across the community in the VCSE sector.
30 seconds left.
And they tell us they don't have the funds or the space to continue their good work. This hub would mean more food to those projects, more space to run them, more storage, shared resources and knowledge, a vital connected space to create meaningful, lasting change for families in the West. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucy. The next statement is Councillor David Harding.
Thank you. The Chew Valley is the least well-connected part of Bath and North East Somerset. In the current evidence base for the Baines local plan, most of the Chew Valley is painted black by the DFT National Connectivity Tool, having the lowest possible grade for sustainable transport connectivity. Removing our timetabled buses would leave the Chew Valley at the mercy of Westlink demand responsive transport service. The Westlink service has proved to be less than functional in an ultra-rural context and cannot meet our public transport needs. Over 2.5 years on from its launch, the travel algorithm still doesn't recognise 2 villages next to each other as ones where rides can be grouped, and often results in just 1 passenger being on board. We're consistently told and have experienced ourselves on multiple occasions an inability to book a ride, even when trying to do so well in advance. And even when getting a booking confirmed, it's often cancelled at the last minute, leaving many customers stranded, particularly on the return journey. Figures in the public domain show that Westlink only delivers 41% of requested rides. Data also show that Westlink is functioning as a school bus for South Bristol, taking students to and from the Chew Valley School. This makes it impossible to get a ride to or from anywhere else in the Chew Valley for long periods. Our Great Big Bus survey shows that both the X91 and the 99 buses are vital for the health and well-being of users, helping prevent rural isolation and connecting villages to each other. The satisfaction ratings on both routes are incredibly high and way above other fixed route services in neighbouring areas and poor Westlink. We have worked very hard to get people to trust travelling by bus. This trust was hard won after the 672 was withdrawn and Westlink under-delivered. A continuation of funding for a further period would help us build this trust further and ensure the reliable continuity of provision which is needed to build habits. Please help us to do this by supporting both the X91 and the 99 continuing after July 26. Let them go and you might have lost the one chance you had for genuine climate and nature supportive behaviour change in the Chew Valley. If I may leave my last words to one of the respondents to our Great Big Bus survey and a regular bus user, my life can be quite housebound, so it's an absolute joy to meet others and have a catch up. It's definitely great for my health and well-being. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Next, we've got Rob Dixon.
Good afternoon. My name is Rob Dixon. I'm the chair of the Bristol Rail campaign. In our statement, we welcomed the proposal for a freight terminal at Avonmouth with conditions attached and WECA's study of branch line passenger service frequency improvements. There's long-standing public support for the Henbury Loop and increased passenger services in general. These improve connections and make new journeys possible, creating opportunities to access employment and support economic growth. Support's shown by the most recent passenger figures from the Office of Road and Rail. While journeys between local stations and commuter stations have declined since COVID, passenger numbers to other local stations have more than compensated for this. As a result, the number of passengers at 17 local stations are the highest ever recorded, 13 of which broke the record set the previous year. This suggests that local journeys are becoming more attractive due to better frequencies and connections, which we've seen with Metro West. At the same time, the numbers travelling between South Wales and Sevenside have also increased dramatically. This emphasises the need for better connections at and new services from Bristol Parkway, and the potential of Pilning to serve Sevenside, as Seven Net Employers organisation has identified. We urge WECA to pursue both a freight terminal and increased passenger service frequencies, ensuring that a North Chord is constructed at Hallen Junction and not Hullsmouth, as I erroneously included in my question, and the Ctte siding extended to avoid freight negatively impacting on passenger services. Both increased freight and passenger services would be regionally significant in terms of their impact and the opportunities they would create. Both would take traffic off our congested roads and help to tackle climate change while stimulating growth. Both are needed, so WECA, please actively support them and seek the funding they'll require. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Josephine Robinson.
Yes, hello. I'm Josephine Robinson from Shirehampton, and in 2024, I had to go to the food bank at Northwest Food Bank because there was a delay with my pension. Now I'm part of Bristol Northwest Action, a group of food bank campaigners based in the northwest of the city. We are delighted to see that Greater Manchester have scrapped concessionary travel restrictions for all disabled and older people bus pass holders. As a group, we know that these limitations unfairly impact the most vulnerable and especially those facing the deepest hardship in the city. Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, has said removing the restrictions is the right thing to do, and we've heard loud and clear from our residents the positive impact it will have on their lives. We welcome West of England Combined Authority allowing anytime bus travel for disabled bus pass holders and hope it continues past the trial period in March. We would like you to do the same for all older people by lifting the 9 a.m. restriction so that they, like those in Manchester, could benefit from the freedoms of free anytime travel. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Melissa Topping.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I'm here today representing members of the East Bristol Open Roads Campaign Group. We genuinely welcome the independent review led by Helen. We see it as a vital opportunity to restore trust between the authority and the community. However, for that review to be truly independent, we must address the governance culture that allowed the EBLN to reach this point. This project was presented to you, the funders, as a trial, yet it was implemented using permanent TROs. This isn't just a technicality, it's a policy choice that bypassed the flexibility of experimental orders. We are now in a place where the council admits to having priority 1 safety risks, where wheelchair users are literally trapped in the road, yet they claim they cannot act quickly because of the very permanent bureaucracy they chose to create. Despite a change in administration, the core team of officers remains the same. We have heard the elected councillors admit on public record that they regret the lack of consultation, and yet this wasn't checked. The scheme still continues to be extended to review data. Data should never be prioritised over human safety. We are not just data points on a spreadsheet. We are low-paid workers losing wages, businesses closing their doors, and elderly residents isolated in a maze of planters. For many of our disabled neighbours, not only are the mental and physical barriers a block, but being forced onto dangerous A roads and major junctions just to reach their own GP surgery is not a trial, it's an infringement on our basic rights. Our request to ECHA is simple. As the funding body, you have the ultimate lever for accountability. We ask that the review looks specifically at why permanent orders were used for a pilot and why this was implemented by this administration, knowing this was the case. That you investigate the initial officer-led decision that bypassed disabled people's organisations. Most importantly, that you refuse further funding to make the scheme permanent until it has been proven to be safe, legal and supported by the majority of East Bristol. We would welcome a chance to discuss our alternative measures map endorsed by Greengage with many simple ways to fix previous issues without designing anyone out bar criminal and antisocial behaviour. Tony Dyer has stated he regrets how this was installed. These impacts require urgent action. We ask that this committee acts on that regret. We want a return to a neighbourhood that is livable for everyone, please. Thank you for your time today and for listening to the voices of East Bristol.
Thank you, Melissa. The next statement is Terry Brammer.
Hi, thank you very much for fitting me in. I wanted to speak about the South Bristol livable neighbourhood, and I wanted to raise some serious concerns about this, about the scheme and the way it's been designed and consulted on and promoted. The principle of creating safer, healthier streets isn't the issue. The issue is that the scheme currently proposed risks doing just the opposite. The consultation process does not meet the standard expected or that should be expected of something of a project of this scale. It's been pushed forward without anything like sufficient regard for local conditions and daily travel patterns, or the cumulative impacts on people who are already struggling. And as it stands, it can only increase congestion on boundary roads. It can only make longer journey times and reduce access for residents who really have no realistic alternative to using a car. These impacts, even though they were raised really early on in the consultation, continue to be downplayed and dismissed and ignored. And what's most troubling is not just the design of the scheme, it's the attitude behind it. Because consultation has been treated more or less as a box-ticking exercise. An opposition is framed as ignorance or bad faith or being anti. And when residents say this will harm their daily lives, well, we're talked down to rather than listened to. And this isn't engagement, it's dismissal. And that isn't progressive transport policy. That is governance by ideology. And if WECA is serious about healthy local economic growth and cleaner air and public consent, then it cannot support schemes that both increase and shift pollution from one area to another, and that sever the lifeblood of local business, or that rely on ideology rather than evidence. And if WECA supports climate and transport policy that simply displaces traffic, worsens inequality, and erodes trust, then it should say so openly. But if it believes in evidence-led, inclusive decision-making, then it cannot continue to back this scheme in its current form. Thank you for giving me that time.
Thank you, Terry. The next speaker is Susan Hughes.
You might need to bear with me a bit because I've got a vocal problem. So I'm speaking regarding the East Bristol livable neighbourhood. The EBLN has been marketed to the residents of Barton Hill, Redfield and St George as a flexible pilot or trial. However, internal paperwork dated July 25th proves that this was a predetermined permanent scheme. By bypassing experimental traffic regulation orders in favour of permanent TROs, the authority has stripped the community of the test and adjust period that is legally and ethically required for such a massive change to city infrastructure. WECA must not fund a project that has fundamentally misled the public about its legal status. The EBLN as currently designed is an active barrier to the independence of disabled residents. Because the council used permanent orders, the physical barriers such as bollards and bus gates cannot be easily moved or adjusted when they are found to block essential access. For many disabled residents, this has turned the neighbourhood into effectively an open prison where they can no longer reach essential services like the Wellspring GP surgery without significant pain or delay. The EBLN has been built on a non-disabled model of active travel that ignores those who cannot walk or cannot cycle, forcing disabled people into longer gridlock journeys on boundary roads is not livable, it's discriminatory. Implementing these barriers without the flexibility of an ETRO constitutes a failure on the public sector equality duty. You are locking in discrimination rather than trialling solutions. By opting for permanent infrastructure rather than the trial-based ETRO model, the council has compromised the agility of our emergency services. Seconds matter in Barton Hill. Permanent physical blockades rather than camera-enforced or flexible filters prevent emergency vehicles from adapting to real-time traffic conditions. We've already seen the chaos caused by the under the cover of night installation of bus gates. This isn't safety, it's an obstruction. The EBLN is currently a scheme built on a foundation of lies. It's a permanent project disguised as a trial and a discriminatory project disguised as green. We call on this board to refuse further funding for the EBLN until the permanent orders are retracted and replaced with
30 seconds left.
A genuine, flexible and inclusive process. We ask you to commit today to stop funding a scheme that prioritises bollards over the lives and legal rights of disabled residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Councillor Fiona Gawley.
Take a breath. Thank you. I am the Baines Cabinet Project Lead for Sustainable Rural Transport, and I've been campaigning for better bus services since being elected in 2023. I welcome the better relationship with the new mayor and with the WECA officers. I feel we now have a seat at the table rather than being heard rather than shouting from the sidelines. We all agree an affordable, reliable bus service is the best way for people to get to work, education, healthcare and leisure. As Bath is the UK's 5th most congested city, we need more buses in Baines to give everyone real, healthy and affordable alternatives to the car to reduce congestion and pollution. So I am very disappointed that the Labour government has cut the bus service grant for WECA and North Somerset from 57 million in 2022 to 51 million this year. Given the rising cost of bus services, de facto it will be a real cut. The Lib Dem administration can't fill that gap, but we are increasing our contribution to WECA from April to support vital bus services. So rather than trying to expand the network, WECA officers are having to make difficult decisions about what bus services must be kept, rationalised or reduced. The government's delay pushed these decisions beyond the normal January bus registration period. This has created unnecessary jeopardy for both public and bus operators alike. Some contracts are being rolled forward to the summer to cover the academic year and to give time for sensible decisions. But still, all bus services are still at risk, all subsidised bus services are at risk. So given the shortfall, I urge WECA to spend more money on regular services rather than less, for example, on fares initiatives. The Kids Go Free, whilst welcome support for families, benefits city residents rather than the rural ones, as it's only good if you actually have a bus. WECA wants to continue with Westlink, which in Baines has largely been a costly failure. If it could offer regular services at peak times to get people into work and education with more flexibility during the day, that might solve some problems for rural communities with inadequate or no services. But the distrust amongst residents who have been let down too many times is a real problem to overcome. So to help, I urge WECA to set up a bus passenger forum. Baines has excellent campaigners.
30 seconds.
Residents and councillors tell me how difficult it is to engage with WECA, to make suggestions for improvements or to champion services. Passenger forum would give residents a voice, enable more areas to be represented and encourage more bus use. And finally, I would urge the mayor to make progress towards franchising, which would give local government more power over the whole rural bus network for the benefit of all our residents and to back more buses in Baines. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And the final statement is Jackie Head.
So I'm here with my 3 colleagues representing the Chew Valley CIC Sustainable Transport Partnership, who currently manage the X91 and 99. Unfortunately, because of lack of time, you're not going to hear from the others, but do look at the statements. First of all, thank you for giving us that extension. We're wary because the 672 was extended for 3 months and then it was cut, so you can understand our anxiety. And we're aware that from July, you're considering using Westlink in a mixture of peak time fixed routes and demand responsive services at other times, rather than our existing services. We urge you not to do this. And there are 9 key problems with Westlink at the present time. I'll name them and hopefully can say a bit more about some of them. 1, the underlying algorithm for the Westlink services was developed on a city and town model and is not fit for purpose in an ultra-rural area. 2, the close to ride booking system doesn't work in a rural context where people need to plan further ahead, having fewer or no other options. 3, Westlink does not deliver a high enough percentage of requested journeys, 41% according to recent figures. 4, Westlink buses are frequently not available in the Chew Valley. 5, Westlink frequently cancels pre-booked rides. 6, Westlink is particularly poor at delivering time-critical rides. 7, Westlink doesn't deliver social benefits in the way that fixed routes do. 8, Westlink is not using electric buses and only carry 1 or 2 people most of the time, bringing little or no carbon benefit. And 9, Westlink has had longer than West Local to correct problems, and yet it still underperforms in its delivery and customer satisfaction to our services. To go back to that first one about the algorithm, this is really crucial and needs to change. The system assumes that the next stop to the stop I'm standing at is 500 meters away. If it's further than that, it assumes it can't make a link. No village in the Chew Valley is 500 meters from the next village. So my neighboring village and I, if we want to go to the same place at the same time in the next village on, we have to have 2 buses to do it because of that logarithm. When we first worked with your team and we had meetings with VIA, they said that the algorithm could be changed to recognize places further away, but that it would need to then be changed for the whole of WECA. As you want to use it in rural areas, please change that algorithm. It would make a huge difference to the potential possibilities of Westlink. There's lots more in my statement. Please do read it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. And thank you to everyone who submitted statements today. I'm sorry that we weren't able to get through all of them. We now move on to item 6, which is comments from the authority's overview and scrutiny committee. So I'd like to invite Toby from the scrutiny committee to address the meeting. Toby.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, committee. Firstly, to thank the Mayor for continuing to attend the scrutiny sessions, which I think are becoming increasingly important as the devolved scope and the organisational ambition of WECA continues to grow. So a few key messages first that we'd like to share. So the 3 main outcomes from the meeting. The committee welcomes the speed of progress on North Somerset joining the combined authority, although perhaps not their speed of progress up the M5 for today's meeting. The committee also welcomes the speed with which this child poverty action plan has been developed and shared, and the clarity of all the actions that were presented in the report. Really good piece of work. The committee has significant concerns regarding the fall in bus funding in 26-27, particularly given the Mayor's commitment to increase provision of sustainable transport. A few other important notes from our discussion, which was extensive. So on the budget, the committee welcomed the clarity in the structure of the new report, which aided our understanding and our ability to scrutinise. So thank you for that. We raised concerns about the increased spend on corporate functions, both in absolute terms and as a proportion of the authority's revenue budget. Having said that, we did recognise the need for reinforcement in some areas, such as the Programme Management Office, in order to achieve the established authority status. So overall, we encourage the authority to ensure that those changes in corporate functions are well balanced with the needs of the authority. It was noted that the authority carries a high risk with the amount of its revenue budget that comes from a large number of individual grants that make up the revenue budget, each with its own timescales and requirements. So focus does need to be given on mitigating that risk. On other items on the agenda, so we welcome the regional multi-faceted logistics hub, which probably needs a more catchy name.
I think it's fine.
We do. We would encourage that the facility is a suitable location to serve the entire region, and we look forward to seeing the full business case in due course. On the expansion of the authority to incorporate North Somerset, we welcome the acceleration, as I've said. We recommend that the combined authority and North Somerset Council press for further clarity from the government on the ongoing financial settlements above the 15 million that's already been promised. That's very welcome. On the forward plan of the regional strategic work, we welcome this additional visibility of work that's ongoing before it's completed, and I'm sure this committee does as well. We did stress, though, that more detail should be given on the schedules for the items in that report, particularly for activities that are going on in this year. We should know the expected timeline for those activities. Finally, coming back to one of our key issues on transport, the committee did raise those serious concerns about the cliff edge of funding for supported bus services. These concerns were echoed by many of those in the public gallery, as they were today as well. Scrutiny really urges the combined authority to accelerate the work that was proposed to seek public views on bus transport, including options for funding those priorities, such as a precept. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Toby. And item 7 is comments from the authority's audit committee. So I'd like to invite David, who's chair of the audit committee, to address the meeting.
Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon to the members. The Audit Committee met at 10 a.m. on the 8th of December 2025. We heard from the public through 15 statements and received 6 questions. We received updates on the following items: the Treasury Management Strategy and Monitoring and non-Treasury financial strategies. Cities Region Sustainable Transport Settlement Update aligned to the Corporate Risk Register item CR 14, and the committee asked for a list of projects that were being baselined, which we've yet to receive. Constitutional review. Ensuring the mayoral combined authority has a robust, clear constitution is crucial, and the committee was willing to collaborate with the officers to achieve this. The committee discussed and supported a proposal from the public forum to allow members of the public to ask oral supplementary questions. This should be considered in the next constitutional review. The potential expansion of the West of England Combined Authority. I understand that recent events have superseded our debate in December, and that new information is being presented to this meeting. The committee will make every effort to support the process, and it is vital that the revised constitution is delivered to enable the expansion. We had a report from internal audit and the audit findings of and approval of the financial statements from Grant Thornton. We noted that the National Audit Office had not provided an update to the whole government accounts, but this did not have a material effect on the financial statements for the year ending 31st of March 2025. The committee unanimously approved the audited statement of accounts, and I have approved a letter of representation. We had a health and safety update, and we received the quarterly corporate risk register. The committee expressed concerns that the score for CRR4, the risk of cybercrime taking place across the MCA, was set too low, and this will be reviewed. The committee will hold an exempt session to receive a briefing on this. The committee will also receive a deep dive into CRR8, the Mayoral Combined Authority's financial resources and actions and plans do not fully address the climate and ecological emergency. We expressed an interest in CRR10, unable to retain diverse, high-quality talent, and we will be getting a briefing on that as well. There was also a proposal to review and amend the existing commercial guidance within the contract standing orders, which we unanimously approved the changes. And that meeting finished at 12:44, and we will meet again on Monday, the 2nd of March. Thank you.
Super. Thank you very much, David. So just before we go into the main body of the meeting, I'm just going to suggest a short comfort break, and we will reconvene in 5 minutes, if that's okay. Thank you. Okay, everyone, we're who's that in the suit? Who is that in the suit? Excuse me. Sorry, looking to restart the meeting. Thank you. Okay, so now we're moving on to West of England Mayoral Combined Authority committee items 8 to 17. So we start with item 8, which is the Mayoral Combined Authority budget for 2026-27 and our medium-term strategy. And for those with reports, that's pages 27 to 134. So our first report is the budget for the financial year 2026 to 2027. A balanced budget is absolutely integral to delivering our programmes as a combined authority. And this budget notes that maintaining reserves has been recommended as key to ensuring effective financial management. This budget represents a commitment to robust financial planning and it reflects our shared regional priorities. It includes an overall investment increase of 9% to almost £416 million, targeted increases in several areas to make sure we can deliver for residents and build important internal capacity, alignment with our priorities for the region that we've identified together in the growth strategies, which means work across transport, housing and regeneration, economic growth, skills and the environment. The report also contains a draft business plan for 2026-27 for the first time, which translates our strategic direction and this budget into clear action. This work is also being undertaken in the context of the upcoming English Devolution and Community Empowerment Bill, which will unlock unprecedented changes for the mayoral combined authorities. We need to make sure that we are prepared to grab these opportunities with both hands to deliver more results for everyone in the West of England. Before we vote, I want to offer the floor to my fellow leaders. Tony, would you like to go first?
Okay, thank you very much. Happy to support this budget paper. It's good to see.
Thank God.
Thank God. It's good to see a balanced budget for 26-27. Hopefully, I'll be doing same again in a couple of weeks' time, but more a bit further up the road. Obviously, we recognise there are still challenges ahead, and look forward to continuing to work together to ensure the combined authority is financially sustainable over the long term. I think it's also encouraging to see in this paper the combined authority commits to collaboratively developing a framework for how our authorities deliver our key projects and priorities over the long term, because we know we still have a long way to go. We're on the right track, but there are still things that we want to do and we want to move at pace in order to achieve them. And we want to be up in that top tier of combined authorities in the same way that Bristol wants to be in that top tier of core cities as well. And I'm sure my colleagues want their local authorities to also be similarly at the top. And I think that demonstrates the good work we have done as a committee. And I think it's fair to say we now have a much more mature combined authority. We are able to have occasional disagreements on certain areas, but we know that the vast majority of the time we are looking to seek consensus and find agreement so that we can move forward. And I hope to see us building on that good work that's already happening across the region, as well as thinking about where we need to do things differently sometimes.
Thanks, Tony. I appreciate that. Maggie.
Yes, I too support all the recommendations. I think they will support the efforts to become the established mayoral strategic authority. And that's a status that will unlock the highest levels of devolution and funding, which I fully support this ambition, as this will maximise benefits for residents and businesses across our region, which is really what we're here for, isn't it? Understandably, the paper focuses on the mayoral combined authority organisation, but clearly that organisation cannot become an established authority and deliver all the actions in the regional growth strategy alone. It needs to continue to be a collective effort across the partnership. And I look forward to ensuring that continues. So I welcome the commitment at para 17 to developing a new region-wide delivery framework to support more consistent ways of working across the region, so that we all know that we're helping to deliver the Mayor's priorities and the growth strategy. I think that standardising the way we communicate can only help and support us. There's already a huge amount of work going on within the unitaries that contributes to the aims of the growth strategy, and we need to build upon these solid foundations and coordinate our activities going forwards. And we certainly don't need to start again and risk reinventing wheels, or we will all lose out. So as a partnership endeavour, I look forward to this committee receiving those regular updates on the regional delivery framework as we go forward.
Thank you very much, Maggie. Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, happy to support the budget, and this is not an historical given. No, quite. Yeah, so more than happy to support the budget, and I'd like to express gratitude of Bath and North East Somerset officers and residents for the collaborative nature that you brought into this process. It's definitely a breath of fresh air that's welcomed by everybody that's involved in it. There's some difficult decisions to be made at a local authority level and a WECA level when it comes to tighter budgets. That's regionally and nationally. Connected to the growth strategy, which you mentioned earlier, I think it's really important, crucially for Baines, and Maggie touched on it, that delivery needs to be increased, and that capacity for delivery can only be enhanced by local authorities being given the power by WECA to do that. We welcome the speed of delivery to be enhanced. I do have to raise the issue of the environment, which has been mentioned through the scrutiny boards. I'm pleased that additional projects have been moved forward for 26-27, which is really well appreciated. However, there are, as we know, a number of political parties operating in the UK at the moment that do not see the connection between the environment and growth. And I see them, as most progressive parties see them, as intertwined. If you can get green growth, you can get green jobs, you can get work for the right people, and it can only be, and the two work hand in hand. So I would encourage us to look at funding from external investors in that area as we move forward, and welcome WECA taking a lead on that. And overall, I'm pleased to support the budget. So yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, everyone. So do we have a mover for the budget?
I'm happy to move the budget.
Okay, and a seconder? Thank you, Maggie. Okay, so there are 6 recommendations. They are on pages 27 to 28. Recommendations 1 to 4 can be taken as a block vote if everyone's happy to do so. I cannot vote. I'm saying nothing further. So therefore, all those in favour, please show. Okay, so that is carried. Bob, am I right? Excellent. Okay, recommendation 5, I can vote. So all those in favour, please show. Okay, and that is now carried as well. And then we have recommendation 6, which is for noting. So are members content to note recommendation 6? Super, that's confirmed then. Thank you. That's carried, Solange. Okay, so moving on.
Go to sleep.
So moving on to item 9, which is the investment fund program and grant assurance, another really important paper. So this report provides an update on the overall investment fund program and outlines the proposed funding changes that will increase the program's headroom to £7.8 million through to March 2028. Realigning the funding on these programmes allows us to balance the investment fund priorities with those linked to our investment strategy. There is one project that I'm particularly keen to mention, which is the small sites aggregator. This is a really exciting further move to help tackle the housing crisis by bundling together smaller, disused brownfield plots with the capacity for less than 100 homes each, and they can be used to create a pipeline of sites for delivering social rent homes. This is a genuinely groundbreaking pilot that's being trialled in Bristol, in Lewisham and in Sheffield, following on from the work by Lloyds Bank Social Housing Initiative and the Small Sites Task Force, which was chaired by our very own Stephen Peacock. The national ambition is for an initial 1,000 new homes across 60 sites in those 3 areas. And the Combined Authority has been selected as the National Delivery Pathfinder, which is backed by more than £6.5 million. So that's another vote of confidence in the region, and it really helps as we continue working together towards the new spatial development strategy, which Maggie mentioned earlier. I'm also really keen, if I may, to highlight the initial funding for over £1.7 million for the Fashion Museum in Bath. And after seeing their new old post office site in the summer and visiting their collection at the end of October, is really genuinely impressive. Over 100,000 pieces spanning the centuries. It's truly remarkable and something that we in the region are extremely lucky to have. I'm really excited for residents and visitors to be able to access our rich arts and heritage, and for culture to drive further growth in our impressive visitor economy, which is already worth £2.7 billion annually. So again, keen to offer the floor to fellow leaders before we vote on this one. Maggie, do you want to go first on this one?
Yes, I will. I'd particularly like to speak about the homelessness, rough sleeping and domestic abuse grant, because that intended receipt of the indicative allocation of that means that everyone should have a safe, stable and affordable home, which is so vital to giving people a good start in life, particularly for the younger people. The UAs have statutory responsibilities in these areas, so it's vital that to use this additional funding strategically to add value to best practice. It is already, but it is already happening within the UAs. Co-production will be essential on new initiatives in this complex area of work, and I think we are beginning to get a track record on that. I'm glad to say you just need to make sure it continues. So, I mean, the issues are complex and likely to be different across the region. Therefore, a standard one-size-fits-all model is unlikely to be appropriate, and which is why I support the delegation to directors to determine how the funding can be best utilised, as they are such experts in their own areas. It will also be important to ensure that the new Planning, Housing and Regeneration Advisory Board, which chairs by Tony, that helps to steer this work. I'm sure he'll make sure that it takes us in the right direction. I would just mention, I think, as an example of our, I would say, new way of working, but it's not very new now, of our collaboration. But my co-leader and I, Ian Bolton, and I expressed some reservations about the Fashion Museum. We didn't have enough information, and thanks to a very good briefing from officers, we were reassured and therefore are very happy to support.
That's super news. Thanks, Maggie. Kevin.
Thank you, Helen. Yes, there's some really great things in this investment fund, but as you'll not be surprised, I will be focusing on the Fashion Museum and the cultural investment for the region. It's a significant project, and it will be embedded into the general growth strategy. It's going to drive regional growth around culture. After your visit, you'll know that fashion, it sounds very posh and very grand, but actually fashion is part of everybody's life, whether that's cool teenagers, trainers, etc., t-shirts, and creating a base for sustainable fashion, something to be built around in the Southwest, I think is really, really important. Got an echo from, thanks Maggie, you're a star, thank you. Relocating to the old post office, as the mayor has pointed out, it should be attracting over 250,000 visitors each year when it gets going, boosting regional tourism. And as was mentioned at the very beginning by Helen, hopefully we can get a slice of that tourism levy moving forward, yet to be discussed. The scheme is shovel ready to go. And I really do welcome the Combined Authority support in this early phase. It should be something absolutely amazing. It is one of the world's best fashion collections, and it will be a shining example of how we can do things amazingly well in the Southwest.
And just to continue to plug the Fashion Museum, there is the opportunity now and again to go and see the collection where it currently is in Warminster. So if you're interested, have a look online for that. Tony.
Thank you. I'll also mention the Bath Fashion Museum. Again, we had to be convinced, but once I was reassured it was not simply Kevin's walk-in closet, we were happy to support.
Thank you very much, Stephen.
Couple of things touched on. I mean, the small sites aggregator, I think, is one in particular. Stephen and I were up at an event up in London with Lloyd's and others, and with Lewisham and also with Sheffield represented there as the 3 pilot authorities. And I think it is important to emphasise that what we're looking at are small brownfield sites that are extremely difficult to bring forward. And not only are we bringing them forward for housing, it's social rent housing, which is a type of housing that is desperately needed in the area. And I think it's looking really good. I'm very positive about going forward, not just with the 3 pilot authorities, but expanding that way beyond that as we go forward. So looking forward to that. Also mention, as Maggie did, the homelessness, rough sleeping and domestic abuse revenue grant. It's a particularly acute problem in Worcester, where we have some 1,800 households in temporary accommodation. So that's very much welcome. It's taking a regional approach means that we can work together to collectively deliver, and also for that to go on top of what we're also doing at a local level. And I think generally overall, this is very positive thing to being brought together and moving forward. And it demonstrates the range where we're moving from fashion to bringing forward social housing to looking after people who are suffering from homelessness, rough sleeping, and domestic abuse. And I think it's very positive.
Apologies. Mover was Kevin, seconder Maggie. Okay, so we will move to the vote. There are 5 recommendations. You can find them on pages 135 to 136, and we can take them on block if everyone is happy. So all those in favour? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Okay, so we move on to item 10, which is delivery assurance. This is pages 157 to 180 in the pack. So this follows on from the last paper. This one outlines change requests that have been made by schemes within the investment fund programme, which are being delivered by the combined authority and each unitary authority. So highlights include the wonderful Summer Valley Green Spaces project and enterprise zone. And as Kevin mentioned, I had the great pleasure of visiting Summer Valley last week with Kevin and others, and was very impressed, but more than impressed, very excited actually by what we can do in this really important growth zone. So watch this space. It also includes the Chew Valley Lake Recreational Trail, the Arena Infrastructure Package, and the West of England Regional Business Support Service. This report notes that there are a total of 14 projects seeking approval for change requests to reflect the rescheduling of project milestones or reprofiling of funding between financial years. So I'll offer the floor on this one as well. Tony, come to you first.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. I think the other thing I'll sort of pick up is the Western Harbour Master Plan and Infrastructure Delivery Plan. Now, I've mentioned previously about Bristol Temple Quarter, that one end of the city centre, and then at the other end we have Western Harbour. And again, it's another opportunity to bring forward housing, but in particular housing that is also truly affordable. And it's also an area that, if we weren't doing the Temple Quarter, because of the location of Western Harbour, it is in such an iconic part of the city that it's important that what we deliver now is done absolutely to the best possible quality we can.
Yeah, agreed. Kevin.
Yeah, fully happy to support all the recommendations, especially the Chew Valley one, and I'm sure they'll want me to plug as long as they've got buses to get there.
Maggie.
Yeah, I'm happy to support. I really don't have any further comments. I mean, I think what needs to be said has been said.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you, Maggie. Do we have a mover for this one?
Happy to move to.
Lovely. Seconder? Okay, thank you, Kevin. Just one recommendation, which is on page 157. So all those in favour, please show. Super. That is also carried. Well done, Solange. Nearly. One more. Okay, so we're going to move on to item 11 now, and you would have already heard a couple of public statements on this one. So unashamedly, this next paper is one that I am particularly pleased to introduce. It's the result of lots of hard work with our amazing partners, including Bristol Charities and Fair Share South West, who, as you will have heard, have already distributed 1.6 million meals to 18,000 people across Bath and North East Somerset, Bristol and South Gloucestershire in the last year. So this committee paper is seeking approval for the next steps towards our regional distribution hub. Rest assured that is not the final name for the site. We'll come up with something snappier over the coming months, so do watch this space. But the hub will act as a centre for redistributing surplus goods from businesses and public sector partners. And we've already had, just from the kind of discussion about this in the last week or so, we've already had some genuine interest from big retailers. The hub will cover the most urgently needed items like food, clothing, bedding and household products. And the site's likely to be a multi-million-pound warehouse space in the region of 30,000 square feet. Through charities across the whole region, these goods will be distributed to people who are in need or in crisis. Setting up this hub aligns with one of our core priorities in the growth strategy, which is to lift children and families out of poverty in the west of England. The proposal is the first of its kind in the country to be designed by a combined authority, so has already made national news, with us now at the forefront of finding innovative solutions to tackle poverty by tackling market failure. In partnership with Bristol Charities, investing up to £2 million each, we can provide affordable warehouse space to help them scale up and support support available across our whole region. And that's in our villages, our towns and cities, and always working with partners. I'd like to offer the floor to my fellow leaders on this one before we vote. I'll start with Kevin.
I echo all your words there, Helen. This is a great project, and I'm really encouraged that the partnership with the private sector on this, and only by doing that can we really make a big difference to these people's lives. I would stress, though, when the business case returns, I would like to see the revenue costs associated with operating the hub is really important. Any resource implications for the UA in supporting a distribution network is vital in that business plan. And more detail on how the hub will reach out to other parts of the region to ensure it's not Bristol-centric. But happy to support the proposal. It's an excellent scheme and you have my full support.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kevin. Maggie.
Yes, happy to support this. I know, Helen, how keen you were to promote this, and quite rightly. I think now the key is that we have a really strong business case to support it, and as indicated by Kevin, for those reasons, it really needs to clearly demonstrate how the proposal will provide support for all those who need it across the region, irrespective of where they live. Mm-hmm. You know, those are reservations that we have expressed previously, so I'm particularly interested in that area. And it's a new initiative for the combined authority, so it's going to be important to ensure that we've got all the appropriate governance and political oversight in place. So I look forward to receiving an update on those arrangements. But yes, I think to get that really strong business case in place will ensure that this project has longevity as well as the immediate advantages we can see.
Brilliant. Thank you, Maggie. Tony.
Thank you. I think in many ways this takes what we were doing with the reuse and recycling centres like the one at Arcliffe Way to another level, and expands it greatly. I recognise the concerns about the surrounding local authorities being able to access, but I think that's one of the key things we're looking at, is making sure that the location is as well served by public transport as we possibly can to make that easier to do. I would say housing costs are extremely high in our city and in our region, but particularly in Bristol, and it's difficult enough finding a safe and affordable home. And then you have the added cost of food, furniture, and white goods can just be too much for many, which is why it's good to see the announcement by the government about providing floor coverings, which may seem like a simple thing, but that will make a big difference. I suspect there are many socially minded businesses that would be willing to support residents in the region in helping towards this. And I think one of the things we are looking for is new and creative solutions to address deprivation. And I look forward to this solution being brought forward. Obviously, we have to do some review, but I think it's a very positive, and I look forward to finding a much better name for it.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you. In that case, do we have a mover for this one?
Happy to.
Lovely. And a seconder?
Happy to second.
Super. 5 recommendations for this one, which are set out on pages 181 to 182, and they can be taken in block if everyone is happy. So all those in favour, please show. Okay, that's carried. Brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone. So following on from that, we go to item 12, which is the Child Poverty Action Plan, which I have a copy of here. So I have already spoken a lot about this one, so I won't speak for too long, but it's really important to see this Child Poverty Action Plan coming to the committee today with a new partnership board to be established for the region on this specific issue. We're driving action on tackling an issue that is so widespread, but it can easily be hidden in what is seen as by many as a mainly prosperous area. But the figures are really stark. We've got 67,500 children in our region who are growing up in poverty after housing costs. So if you picture that in a primary school classroom, that's 8 children in every classroom. We published this plan in December, and it came of a renewed time of national focus on tackling child poverty through measures like lifting the 2-child benefit cap, expanding free school meals, rolling out Best Start family hubs, and the government publishing their child poverty strategy. But working together, this, I think, gives us even more tools locally to maximise our collective impact. This has been a wonderful and truly collaborative effort with really, really valuable input from all the leaders around this table, from council officers, from voluntary sector organisations, public sector partners, and so many more all across the country. So I'm really keen and happy to see this come to committee today. I will offer the floor to fellow leaders before we vote on this one. I'll start with you, Tony, if I may.
Yeah, I mean, this, for various reasons, this is something that's very important to me, and I'm so pleased that with your leadership we've been able to bring this forward. Child poverty is rising across our region. In Bristol, we have the strange situation of our overall deprivation reducing, but the number of children in poverty increasing. Part of the reason for that is that some of our areas that are the most deprived, including Arcliffe, where I grew up, is also often the younger areas, the areas with the highest proportion of children. So at the moment, we are in a situation where Bristol is seen as one of the most prosperous cities in the UK, but 1 in 3 of our children are living in poverty. And there's various reasons for why that is happening. And this action plan is looking at how we address that. I think we should give credit to some of the organisations already working in this area. Room 13 Outline, for instance, is an obvious example that are I'll pick out because they're also mentioned in the action plan. But those organisations cannot tackle child poverty on their own, which is why it's so important for us to bring this forward, so that at regional level, as well as that individual organisational level, we address this with a priority it deserves. It's the start of something important. Obviously, the devil will be in the details of how we deliver it. I don't think any of us are under any illusions about how difficult it can be to tackle poverty. But it is a very positive move forward, and I'm very happy to support it.
Thank you, Tony. Maggie.
Thank you. Yes, I'm certainly happy to support this. And again, I'm really pleased in the way it was developed with some very strong input, I think, from the constituent councils. As Tony has said, experience of child poverty, indeed poverty per se, is growing across the region. And that is true of South Gloucestershire as anywhere else. Children and adults in low-income households are more likely to have poorer educational outcomes, have a lower paid work as an adult than their peers, have a shorter life expectancy and poorer health outcomes, live in poor quality housing, and develop preventable long-term health conditions to a greater degree than others. And there's a lot of evidence of that. It's not something we can ignore. And as the action plan says, as an important focus for South Gloucestershire are the needs of both urban and rural communities, with particular attention to financial inclusion and accessibility. Rural areas can face significant challenges that are often hidden, both in the national data and in the fact that some of those rural areas and indeed within our market towns, there are pockets of poverty that are overlooked because they're surrounded by the better off community around them, so they get rather buried. But they do have limited access to essential services, infrequent public transport. That's a very significant one, as I think has been noted all day. And reliance on cars makes it harder for families to reach work, childcare, healthcare and shops. And there's always that added financial pressure. So tackling child poverty will take the work of the combined authority, constituent councils and wider partners to working together to really lift this into the place it needs to be. We already have strong partnership foundations in place, and the local authorities already have statutory responsibilities. And I therefore look forward to progressing this work through the new Regional Child Poverty Partnership, which Helen, you chair, do you know, that will bring key agencies together around that shared vision. I think it's an area we all feel really strongly about. And as devolution evolves, this new regional partnership could play an even stronger role in aligning efforts, strengthening prevention and ensuring families experience more coordinated and effective support, which is why I support the plan.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Maggie. Kevin.
Yeah, thank you, Helen, and thank you for your leadership on this one. This is a paper I fully support. Particularly, I welcome the focus on childcare access, early years and digital inclusion. It's a really important part of the paper. Most importantly, politicians often get a bad rap for the things they do wrong, but this is a clear example of, if you tie the paper that we've just had, if you intervene early on and concentrate on prevention, which for decades has been underlooked, you can really tackle the problems that were faced in the previous paper. So this is why this particular piece of work is so important. And crucially, what's been done throughout the decades is money's been thrown at these topics and then it's been forgotten about. But I think the key thing about this one is monitoring how we're improving children's lives, learning from that and making sure the people that come after us enhance this programme and it just doesn't get buried. So it's everybody's responsibility. And then hopefully we won't have to have the papers that we've had just before dealing with poverty and food poverty, etc. So welcome this, but the crucial thing is monitoring the outcomes and make sure we learn from those.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Completely agree. Thank you, Kevin. Okay, are you happy to move?
Yes.
Yeah. Second, Tony?
Second.
Yeah. Okay, so there's only one recommendation, which is on page 189. So all of those in favour, please show. And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, so this is the big one, item 13. Sadly, we don't have Catherine here. I think that the motorway is completely broken. So we are just going to move on. But I just really want everyone to know that if Catherine was here, we would have, of course, included her in this item. So this is a really important paper which will determine the next stages towards the potential expansion of the combined authority to include North Somerset Council. My mind may still be on the traitors after last week's finale, but if I had to butcher an analogy, North Somerset might have banished themselves in 2017, but now the faithful are recruiting and we know who we want to join our team. So we are very excited that this paper comes after North Somerset voted to approve progressing plans for a consultation on expansion. And together we did the same thing at our last committee in October. So launching a public consultation in the coming weeks, that will be a vital part of this process. And we all know how important it is for residents and businesses to have their say. The expansion proposal has been negotiated collaboratively by the combined authority with all 4 local councils. And I would like to put on the record, in particular, my thanks to Mike and to Mandy for their leadership in getting us to this point. Together, we've secured a commitment to an extra £15 million for the short term for projects across the region and £1 million to support the process of expansion. And more widely, the government has committed to take into account an expanded WECA geography and population, meaning North Somerset joining could add up to a quarter to our future funding allocations for transport, housing and much more. And from the timeline set out from government, North Somerset could be a full member of the combined authority as soon as the end of this year or early 2027. So this process is something that is a collaborative effort. And I know that we all recognise that expanding to include North Somerset can make us a more unified, stronger region as set out in our growth strategy. It would also bolster our efforts to become an established mayoral strategic authority, which, as we know, unlocks the highest levels of devolution for our residents, and it helps us to catch up to other regions. So obviously I want to offer the floor to fellow leaders. As I say, if Catherine were here, we would be going straight to Catherine. But as she's not, I'll go to Kevin.
I'm sure Catherine would support everything I'm going to say. Yeah, this clearly strengthens deeper devolution, which is the government's key driving force at the moment. Some of the points have been raised earlier about transport, so a strategic, joined up, bigger transport vision. If it's for me, Tony, I'm not here.
It's Ellen's mum.
She
wants to know where the credit card is.
Oh, there we are. Yeah. Tell us you can borrow yours, Tony. Yeah. Bless us, that's thrown me. Basically, we welcome North Somerset joining. It's a good idea. We look forward to it coming back in October, I believe, is the time frame for that. I encourage everybody to take part in the consultation. One of these problems is that you have a minority of people that take part in these consultations. They're normally the most agitated, probably more the most negative. So if you really think it's a good idea, for all the reasons that Helen said and all the reasons that put forward, please do take part in the consultation. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Maggie.
Yes, absolutely. The consultation is such a vital part of this process. And I think we are all convinced that North Somerset joining us is a very logical step forward. It will have so many advantages, many of which have already been mentioned. It certainly will strengthen our case to becoming an established authority and unlock the funding that goes with that. And there's the extra so many advantages, particularly, as you say, across the whole transport piece. So I don't have any hesitation in supporting the Mayor's intention to move to this stage of the formal process, echoing those thoughts of Kevin about, those people who are in favour. Don't just assume that it will happen, because there will be voices, as we've found in the past, that will move to make their contrary point of view. And I think it's important that we do consider their views. There might be things that we need to take on board from that consultation, even if in the end we take this forward as we anticipate. But yeah, I'll leave it there and just say that I support.
Brilliant. Thank you, Maggie. And Tony.
Thank you. I mean, looking sometimes at the West of England Combined Authority, it reminds me of Pac-Man, where you have Mr. Pac-Man with a big chunk missing out of it, and North Somerset is that big chunk that was missing. And it always seemed, when you talk to people from elsewhere and from businesses and so on, the idea that North Somerset was not part of the West of England Combined Authority just didn't make sense on economical grounds, social grounds, or environmental grounds for that matter. Where I live in my house, I am 20 minutes walk away from City Hall and 20 minutes walking the other way, and I'm in North Somerset. In terms of people coming into Bristol to work and to go to school occasionally and shop, we get a lot of people coming from South Gloucestershire, some from Bath, and also.
Why would they leave that?
Yeah. Well, usually some of them come to Bristol so they can watch a decent game of rugby.
How very dare you.
But we'll also get people who come from North Somerset. I think.
What's the score of the last game?
Yeah. We had an injury list. Anyway, so I think if we boil it down, we go into the reasons, we do the consultation. We know that there will be some people claiming that we're recreating the county of Avon. That's not the case. This is a completely different beast. And the reality is, if you look at where we want to get to, which is that integrated settlement, where we are competing on the same level as Greater Manchester and the Western Midlands and so on, in my view, we won't do that if we don't have North Somerset sat at the table as a full member of the West of England Combined Authority. It's as simple as that. We can discuss about how much money has been offered at this stage, but there is a bigger prize further down the line, which will enable us to provide better services and homes and transport for all the residents in all of our authorities if North Somerset is part of the West of England Combined Authority.
Brilliant. Completely agree. Thank you very much, Tony. So do we have a mover for this one? Happy to move. And a seconder? Super. Okay, so there are two recommendations. They're on page 243, and we can take those on block if everyone is happy. So all those in favour? That's carried. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Okay, so item 14, which is the forward plan of regional strategic work. So that's pages 289 to 298. So this report proposes a different approach to our development of major strategies and programmes, which is, we think, critical to progressing our work in an agile way that aligns with the regional priorities. So we are creating a forward plan of our strategic work, which you will be able to see at each committee meeting. It will provide members an opportunity to feedback on our strategic priorities at an earlier and formative stage. And the paper also notes the current forward plan from this month. So you can see our transport vision is at the forefront of our plan strategy launches, followed by key work on the SDS, the Spatial Development Strategy, investment plans and prospectus, sector plans and strategies on skills and transport. So I'll offer the floor to fellow leaders before we vote on this one, and we'll start with Maggie.
Yes, certainly support having the forward plan published in this way. I think in the previous iteration of this authority, there was some disjointed. Well, it was somewhat disjointed, the work here. I think that we, you know, it was yeah, I'll leave it at that. But you know, in order to, so that everybody can really keep track and understand what is happening, if that forward plan is published for the world to see, I think it will be really helpful. I do think it's useful if it's a sort of standing item so that people can just see that what's going on at all times. And I do wonder if it would be helpful for the board plan to be a standing item at the advisory boards as well, so that the boards can use it to shape their work as well, because I think that was where possibly previously there was a bit of a disjoint of the work that was going on. So yeah, with that I would I'll support this item.
Sounds very sensible suggestions, Maggie. Thank you. Kevin.
Yeah, very briefly, thank you, Helen. This paper shows the maturity of West of England One Authority, that it's moved on to this stage, and a big credit to yourself and officers for getting us this far. I will echo Maggie's thoughts that the advisory boards are key to making this a success, and crucially allowing all councillors and members and resident the public to feel that they the papers we put together, they own them and they're part of those creations. And I think doing that through the boards is a great way forward, and I fully support the paper. So well done.
Wonderful. Thank you. Tony.
Yeah, thank you. Just to echo what's been said before, I think it, you know, as somebody who was formerly a chair of Scrutiny at Bristol City Council, I think, you know, having forward plans is very useful. Because it allows the scrutiny function to also see what's coming up and plan their agendas. But also in this instance, it's also good for the advisory boards to be able to do the same thing. I know on the Housing Regeneration Advisory Board, we're already looking at setting out our agenda over the next 6 months or so. And having a clear indication of what's coming down the line also helps. Although I will just caution that, you know, the advisory boards are not there just to provide another form of scrutiny. We already have the Overview and Scrutiny Committee do that. Ours is policy development.
Yeah.
But I think but nevertheless, advisory boards will play an important role is put forward that strategic work for development alongside what the Scrutiny Committee will also be doing in terms of giving another scrutiny version of that as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tony. Fabulous. Okay, so do you want to move this one? Are you happy to move?
Happy to move.
Okay. Second.
Happy to second.
Yeah. Okay, so there are two recommendations. They're on page 289. They can be taken together. So all those in favour, please show. Super, carried. Thank you very much. Okay, so we move on to item 15, which is transport. So this report sets out the 3-year bus grant allocation, which is £42.4 million, and it also covers the rebaseline of the approved Transport for City Regions funding, with over £140 million to complete the CRSTS programme. So this programme also recommends an amendment to the delegation for early works funding. So there's quite a lot in this one. We were really pleased to secure a multi-year settlement for our buses, which is a significant shift because it enables us to forward plan our services more strategically, with the intention of meeting the needs of all residents in the context of a number of challenges, which include, as we all know, rising costs. We're putting bus travel at the forefront of our vision for the region. And this comes at a time of national focus on improving buses across the country through the Bus Services Act. We'll be engaging on developing our bus plan over the coming months, including with the public, and we're keen to help that guide our future investment and strategy. The majority of the bus grant is proposed to be invested in service provision, that will maximise value for money from the funding. And we're pioneering new and innovative approaches to deliver our service, which could include integrating and reforming our demand responsive transport and ensuring connectivity to rural communities is maximised. I also wanted to highlight our continued commitment to making bus travel accessible for all through the proposed funding of initiatives targeted at the most vulnerable groups in society. So that will include free travel for care leavers, the child fare cap and Kids Go Free. We're also proposing funding to be allocated to initiatives that improve safety and address violence against women and girls in public transport. Finally, the paper also outlines the new proposed final funding allocations for the remaining delivery of CRSTS projects for each local council to allow the effective completion of this programme. I'll offer the floor now. So, Tony, do you want to come in first?
Yes, thank you very much. And I think this is an important report going through to transport affects pretty much everybody in the region. Many of the transport projects we're delivering at the moment will deliver faster buses and make active travel easier. That in turn will reduce congestion and benefit those who do need to rely on their cars to get from place to place. Obviously, when you're putting in roadworks and improving roads, sometimes you have to break an omelette, break the egg before you can before you get the omelette. Well, I usually break the omelette as well. So the site of roadworks is not always popular in the short term, but it needs to take place in order to deliver the longer term benefits as we go through. And I think there is an onus on us to make sure people are aware of why roads are being worked on at any particular time, so that people are aware of what the benefit of that would be coming forward. In some situations, we're doing repair works because of infrastructure problems. And if we don't do those repair works, then the infrastructure problems will continue and those routes will become unusable. Looking forward to collaborating on the Mayor's bus plan. I think understanding what the public needs from our buses. We have plenty of people who are very much involved in putting forward ideas and informed suggestions about how we can improve the bus service. We heard about the problems affecting rural communities. Largely urban communities are often better off, but even within areas like Bristol, we have parts of the city that are very reliant on a small number of bus services. So we also, particularly in deprived parts of the city. But also, I think working together to design a network of bus routes that work together to help people get around easily will benefit our regional economy, and it will also help us to achieve our growth strategy ambitions. But even more importantly, it will improve the lives of our residents and address regional inequalities by improving many residents' access to work, training and leisure.
Thank you very much, Tony. Kevin.
Thank you, Helen. I'll start with I'll try and do a bit of a praise sandwich on this paper, because there's not everything in it that I particularly like, and that's not necessarily a fault of the West of England Combined Authority. The recommendations, especially the Mayor's bus plan, really welcome that. It's great to get the ideas of people, of residents, to put together a proper coherent bus strategy. Welcome the 3-year settlement. Again, that's a good move by the government. That's really good news. And if you look at figure 1 in the papers, it shows that we've got £42 million for bus grants, which is also welcome. That money needs to be flexible, though. There's nearly £10 million of that, which is being spent on initiatives. Probably like the Mayor to consider how we can be flexible to adapt those sums of money, which has not been the case in the past. It's important to retain the services that we already have. And this is why I'm trying to do a bit of a praise sandwich. I have to be really clear that the government are reducing our bus grants, while bus inflation is going up, unfortunately. From 57.5 million in 2022 to 51.3 million in 2026. That is a clear reduction by the central government of £6 million to our bus services. That is not acceptable. I am someone that gives hope and optimism to a new Labour government, and unfortunately this is an area where they seem to be letting us down. And I raise this point not as a negativity to WECA, but I raise it to empower the mayor to be able to go to central government and lobby her colleagues to express how disappointed we are in this reduction. We've mentioned earlier the importance of rural connectivity. We've spoken about child poverty, etc. Good transport is all interconnected, and a government reducing our funding by 6 million is not acceptable. But I say this to empower the mayor to go to the Labour government and try and get a better deal moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. Maggie.
Well, I think I'll support virtually everything that Kevin said there. I do have one or two things that I want to emphasise myself, because obviously it's hugely disappointing to have that reduction, but it's also very useful to have the 3-year allocation, because at least we can plan better. And I think that's been a major difficulty with all things to do with buses, is that sort of cut-off point that everybody has been struggling with. So while I broadly support the proposed distribution of funding that's in Table 1, it will be important to maximise the proportion allocated to bus services, as fare and ticketing initiatives are of little benefit to residents who live in areas without a bus service. And as has been said from the public gallery earlier, I mean, South Gloucestershire has that same issue with rural services. So I'd ask that as much flexibility is provided to directors to determine how best the funding is allocated using the best available evidence, and that we explore opportunities to rebalance funding in favour of maintaining bus service provision ahead of submission to DfT in March. We should keep all options open at this stage. We can look forward to being involved in the future bus options work and the mayor's bus plan, and you know, we're very supportive of that because it sets out the actions and priorities and delivery mechanisms needed to achieve the region's wider transport vision. And I also welcome the forthcoming work to review the transport levy and agree with the key deliverables set out in para 15. And I would like to particularly emphasise, if I can just find it, that there's in the third bullet point in that para, it says identify and assess options for an equitable calculation of contributions, recognising that contributions should be fair and proportionate across all authorities, factoring in the challenges residents face in accessing key services. And I highlight that because it's vitally important that as geographical access to services, deprivation is particularly acute in some areas of our region. For example, according to the recently published English indices of deprivation, over 13,000 people in South Gloucestershire live within the most deprived 5% of areas in England in terms of the geographical barriers to services subdomain. We must ensure evidence such as this is factored into our policy development going forwards. We have a saying, I can just see Ian sitting at the back, we are evidence-led. So please take on board all the evidence that is available to us. So I think with those caveats, overall, I welcome this and will support the recommendations.
Thank you. That's been heard. Thank you very much for all those contributions. Maggie, are you happy to move?
Indeed, yes.
Brilliant. Kevin, are you happy to second?
Yes.
Okay, there are 4 recommendations. They're on page 299 and we can take them all as a block if everyone is happy. So if all those in favour can please show. Okay, that one is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we move to, thank you. Now we move to item 16, which is the review of our constitution. And this report can be found on pages 315 to 324. So this paper outlines the work that has been undertaken to date of the Constitution Review Working Group and sets out a range of proposals for reforming the constitution of the combined authority. And I think it's important to note that this is the first review of its kind since the authority was set up in 2017. The combined authority is undergoing change to ensure that we can deliver strategically as we continue to move at pace towards established strategic authority status, secure more powers, and look forward to North Somerset fully joining us. The paper outlines the principles underpinning the Constitution Review, and it recognises that the Constitution and governance arrangements are the bedrock for the combined authority to achieve our strategic aims. We need a constitution that is fit for purpose and allows for us to make decisions, maximise the potential of devolution, and remain transparent and accountable to our partners and the taxpayers that we, of course, serve. So I'll offer the floor to leaders on this. I'll start with you, Kevin, if I may, this time.
Yeah, for brevity, I fully support the paper. Look forward to seeing what comes forward with it. I would probably push for it. It may not be included in this particular phase of the Constitution Review, but empowering the different boards, particularly with regards to creating policy and policy development. I think that's something we should be encouraging those boards to be doing more.
Super, thank you for that. Maggie.
Yeah, I'm supportive of this, but I wasn't going to speak on it, but I would just support what Kevin has said there. I think that's useful.
Brilliant, thank you. And Tony.
Thank you. And I think, given how the WACO is evolving and growing, an up-to-date constitution is vitally important, particularly as it hasn't been reviewed since the formation of WACO. We're now in and developing a much different version of the authority. So also pleased to see that an officer working group is being set up to come forward with recommendations, but obviously in the end we will make the decision about what to include in that constitution.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Tony. Are you happy to move?
Happy to move.
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you very much. There are two recommendations. They're on page 315. They can be taken together. So all those in favour? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Okay, so we're almost there, folks. Item 17 is the proposal to review and amend existing commercial guidance within the contract standing orders. This report outlines the revision of the existing contract standing orders, the proposals which were approved at Audit Committee in December. They aim to deliver improved compliance with governance processes and improve operational efficiency, as well as ensuring value for money. I'll offer the floor on this, Maggie.
No, I'm not going to argue with the Audit Committee. I'm supportive.
I think that was the golden phrase there. I think you won that one, David. Kevin?
Happy to fully support them.
And Tony?
Well, usually I'm quite happy to argue with David, but in this instance, I'm not going to.
Super. Kevin, are you happy to move?
Happy to move, yes.
Okay. Maggie, happy to second? Yes. Brilliant. Okay. 5 recommendations on this one, pages 325 to 326, and happily we can take them together. So we will move to vote. All those in favour? Okay, and that's carried. Okay, so now we move to our joint committee item without North Somerset at the table. However, we are quorate without North Somerset, so please don't be alarmed. Bob has confirmed that we can carry on.
Thank you, Mayor. You're quorate without North Somerset being present here, as long as there are at least 2 other constituent authorities present. So in your current format, you are quorate, so you can go on to make this decision. And the decision making requirements also met with the members that you have present.
Brilliant. And Mandy, you're happy with that?
Yeah, Catherine just said she has no issues.
Fabulous.
Teams chat with her online.
Brilliant. Okay, that's great. So we will move on. So ordinarily, just for public awareness, Catherine or Mike would be able to vote at this point as well as contribute to the conversation. So this final paper represents the Joint Committee Revenue and Capital Budget for the financial year 2026 to 2027. The paper notes that that following the integration of the local enterprise partnerships into combined authorities, and that the corresponding legacy funds do remain in place, the report sets out change requests and the details for the budget alongside a forecast for the current year. I will offer the floor on this one. I'll start with you, Maggie.
I don't have any comments on this one, thank you.
Kevin.
No comments, although it is tempting to adjust it while they're not here.
She'd come crashing through the door at that point. Tony.
Yeah, no comments from myself. I look forward to North Somerset joining, so we don't have to have separate meetings.
Absolutely, here. Okay, you happy to move, Tony?
Happy to move.
Happy to second. Lovely. Okay, 4 recommendations. They're on page 357, and they have varying voting arrangements, so this could be fun. So everyone can vote on recommendation 1. So all those in favour, please show. Okay, that is carried. And recommendation 2 is for noting. Are members content to note this recommendation? Okay, and another fun one. I cannot vote on recommendations 3 and 4, but everyone else can.
That must be an important one then.
So these recommendations can be taken together if you are all happy. All those in favour, please show. And that is carried. And Solange has got a big smile on her face because that concludes today's meeting. Thank you so much to all of you for attending. It's so lovely to have so many people here. And thank you for those on live stream. And we hope to see you again at our next meeting, which will be on the 27th of March. Thank you very much.